I'll speak in my first language first, to acknowledge my family and my community. I know we have Yakti to go Nanuti, Namanoden, no Tayanuti, Mamut Tayata, Join Jamian and it go, and I know the words are no. Every one of us here tonight is at a place of our own journey. My journey, like all of yours, is rooted in the experience of my ancestors. My roots are Innu, and they go back thousands of years in the land known now as Quebec and Labrador. My father was a nomadic hunter. My mother was a child of a nomadic hunter. They grew up living in a nomadic life, traveling on foot, snowshoe, and by canoe. They didn't know there were provinces and boundaries. They knew the land, the lakes, the rivers, and had the skills to survive and raise my generation on the land. That never happened. I am the youngest sister in a family of 16. My siblings were born in a tent on the land where birth and death were a normal part of life. Caribou have been at the heart of the Innu culture for thousands of years. In my first language, Innu means human being. The foundation of our culture and our spiritual beliefs that everything has a spirit, and that humans are not at the top of the hierarchy, with everything else, the trees, the water, the animals below us. My culture is communal, and when the well-being of the group came before individuals' wants and needs. However, in the 1960s, my parents and grandparents were forced into moving into a year-round village. The priest ruled over the village. My parents' generation didn't speak English. The priest was the first school teacher, and he was violent and abusive. My older brothers and sisters were taught that our culture was evil, that the drum and our spiritual practices were the ways of the devil. By the 1970s, there were no sober households in our community of Shehajit, and this brought with it all the symptoms of a collapse of our culture, including child neglect, family violence, physical ill health, and much trauma. My generation became the poster child for colonization. My parents had no way to anticipate what the future would hold. They knew nothing about residential schools or the Indian Act in other places across Canada. They could not provide political leadership for life in a year-round village. Fortunately for me, and why I am here now, is that they did provide leadership to our family. They taught us that in spite of the messages we learned from non-Innu world that we were inferior to white people, they were indeed important, that our culture and life on the land was important. My older brothers and sisters learned to read, write, and speak English fluently. They started to work in the first political organizing in our community, and my sisters became helpers in the health field and in the school. They were trying to make life better for everyone, not just for our family. As a young woman, a single mom, I simply knew I needed to contribute to the well-being of my community. I started community service in health programs, leadership, and I heard more individual stories and became more aware of all the systemic barriers. I knew I needed to do more. My time as elected Chief of Shehajit Innu First Nation and then as Grand Chief of Innu Nation were years of huge challenge and often frustration and anger. I learned that I needed to laugh the way my parents and grandparents would laugh, even when they seemed a little to laugh about. I learned that we had to have our own vision of a healthy future and work hard to make that happen. I also learned that my leadership didn't start with being elected. The best of my leadership has been built on the history and the lessons of the Innu who came before me, because they also dreamed of our health and well-being, our reconnection to our land. There are so many examples of Innu trying to make dreams come to life. Today, as one of the 3 commissioners leading the provincial inquiry into the treatment and outcomes for Innu children and families in the formal child protection system, I am humbled to listen to the terribly painful stories of Innu. Many of them my peers, who as children were not protected by a system which said it would keep them safe. This is a very difficult kind of leadership for me, to be trusted by my people to share these experiences. Some of them truly life and death are heard and then used to help build the framework for developing our own law and Innu children and family well-being services. We are on this path. We signed a protocol 2 years ago this month with the Newfoundland government to take concrete steps to work together toward an Innu-led vision, and the progress is real. Provincial child protection staff must contact Innu community workers to involve them at the earliest opportunity in every referral involving suspected harm to an Innu child. This is a huge step forward on my journey as a leader and in our journey as Innu. I am proud how my path has played a part in where we are and are heading. And I thank you for acknowledging my journey with this award. May all our journeys continue in good health. Thank you.